Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Words, Psychodynamics that coaches can actually use. I'm Julia Rogers. I'm an MCC accredited coach. I'm an EMCC senior practitioner and accredited coaching supervisor, and also psychodynamics enthusiast. And I absolutely believe that psychodynamics has a place in coaching. We don't talk about it enough. So it is my mission in my podcast, in my LinkedIn Lives, in my training courses, in everything I do to bring psychodynamics into the world of coaching so that you as coaches can benefit from it and your clients can get a better standard of coaching from you. So last time we talked about after the fire. We've talked a lot about fire and after the fire, and this week we're actually talking about the other end of the spectrum. So when things get very, very still, when things almost get a little bit frozen. So one way to think about it is some clients bring too much heat, or, maybe too much is a strong way of putting it. Some clients bring a lot of heat. Others bring a lot of cool to the session. And both are clues to understand, what actually is happening underneath. So the theme for today is when calm isn't actually calm, it's defended. So, we love, we talk about silence and all kinds of things at the moment, but actually, maybe there's something more going on. What does this look like when we're thinking about a coaching session? So it's things like the pleasant but flat session. We've all had those, haven't we? Where, everything seems very nicey nice on the surface. There's not a lot going on. We've got maybe where the client seems articulate, they're quite rational. They can come across as quite reflective, but something is missing. And this is where you know it. You absolutely know it. You can feel it. Something's missing. Something's not there. You just don't know what it is. And maybe as a coach, you start to feel a little bit sleepy, a bit detached, or maybe overly professional. It can kind of derail you into an incredibly professional vibe. So have a think about if you've ever found yourself working harder than usual to feel engaged. That's data. We can feel guilty as this for a coach. We can think, there's something wrong, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the other. It's data. Have a think about what actually might be happening underneath the words that are being spoken. So one of the things we've got here is emotional freezing as a defence mechanism. And what I mean by this is it's a way to keep unbearable feelings out of consciousness. We don't want these feelings in our conscious lives. And so we've got some common defences that we can put on our defence mechanism bingo card here. We've got repression, where we can just squish those feelings down entirely. They go straight into our unconscious minds. We don't want those. We want them squished away. We've got intellectualisation, and this is where we talk about emotions instead of feeling them. Really listen to the language that your client is using. Are they talking, do they say I think, or do they say I feel? But you can also use the word I feel and not actually be feeling at all. You can be thinking. So, have your coach curiosity in full engagement there. And then we've got reaction formation. This is where we can have moments of excessive calm or niceness. And this is actually where we cover up anger or fear. So where we're going overcompensating, basically. If we have a lot of anger, fear, almost quite, very difficult feelings. We don't want those near our conscious minds at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the opposite to almost like lead people off the trail. Now, these aren't faults. Don't think there's anything wrong with you or the client when this happens. They're forms of self-protection. We want to keep ourselves safe. This is what defence mechanisms are there to do. They're there to keep us safe. But conversely, they might not be helping at all. One way to think about it is it's emotional cryo-freezing. So the feelings are still there, they are just stored safely below the surface, and you aren't getting anywhere close to them. So what might be going on for as a coach when this happens? Well, there are certain things that can be happening for us. We might mirror the client's stillness. So there might be a bit of mutual detachment that happens here. Or we may have those moments where we feel subtly irritated. Maybe we can get a bit bored, or that we feel that we're not good enough for the client. Maybe you think, oh, the client needs so much more than what I can offer. Now, we can there's something here that's called parallel process. And what I mean by that is their defended emotional worlds can actually be recreated in the coaching relationship. So it gets played out in between the two of you. You can start enacting what's happening for the client. You can start enacting what the client is putting into the coaching room. So a question that I would offer to you is, what part of you might be joining their defence, trying to stay calm so that you don't melt the ice? Because what the client is projecting is they want this safety. The ice keeps things safe. And there might be part of you that's almost like colluding in that so that you ain't getting close to any of the difficult stuff. How do we work with this? Well, one of the top things to do is notice the emotional temperature. You might want to name it gently. So, I'm aware there's a kind of calmness here. How does that feel for you? The other thing to think about is tolerating silence. Do not rush to fill it. Now, this can be easier said than done because we don't like silence. It's one of the things that as a coach I found the most liberating to learn was actually how to be silent with somebody. And I think sometimes as coaches we can think, oh, we've got to be giving value all the time, which means we need to keep talking. But actually listening to somebody, being with somebody, is possibly one of the greatest gifts you can give them. So don't rush to fill that silence. But also stay connected. Don't sit there looking bored out of the window, or kind of glazed over, mentally you're writing your shopping list. Warmth melts ice better than confrontation. We don't want to be going in going, well, aren't you going to say anything to me? That's not what we're here for at all. It's all about presence and the containing presence. And use curiosity instead of interpretation. So invite feeling rather than labelling it. Now, a caveat here, some clients love a bit of interpretation, and there are the moments to use this. So with everything in coaching, it's all about timing. So think about, what does my client need in this moment? Do they need me to be curious? Do they need me to be inviting the feelings? Or actually, is it going to be helpful for me to offer an interpretation? But the key thing is containment is so important. We don't thaw people. We help create the conditions where feelings can safely emerge. So this is all about who you are as a coach. If we think about those ICF competencies, we're really in competency 4 here, cultivating trust and safety, so that the client feels safe enough so that they can allow themselves to thaw out, that they can allow some of these feelings and the information to emerge from the ice. Emotional control is not the same as emotional health. This is absolutely key. We can think that somebody is very poised, they're like the swan with a gliding along with the, with their feet pedaling underneath. Emotional control isn't necessarily emotional health. And sometimes what looks like composure is actually a story of survival, because maybe somebody has never felt safe to express their feelings before. Maybe they've, been told to kind of like dampen their feelings down, keep themselves safe, keep themselves, tidied away in this little box somewhere, and it doesn't feel safe for them. So what they're showing to the world is composure, but actually it's a means of coping and a means of surviving in the world. So for you as a coach, the containment becomes extraordinarily important. So I'm going to leave you with a reflective question for something for you to have a think about. Which clients or moments come to mind where things felt frozen, where things felt that that there was something underneath and you just couldn't get to it. And how did you respond to this? No judgment here, no blame. If you after you've listened to this, you thought, maybe I went a bit quick with that. Maybe it was all too much. How did you respond, and how would you respond now? Again, we're all learning. We're all going to look back on sessions in supervision, and when we reflect, and when we journal, and when we do our reflective work, and we're all going to sit there and think, I could have handled that better. And that's part of the work as a coach that we do. Now, if you have enjoyed this and you'd like some more psychodynamic nuggets, then is my podcast that comes out every Wednesday, where we touch on different psychodynamic aspects of everyday life. A lot of fun to be had. I'm also going to be starting the next round of Essential Psychodynamics for Coaches in January. We have so much fun in this, so much learning. If you're not on the list, you're missing out. So do come and join us for that. I've just actually popped a webinar on YouTube for this. I will pop the link in the comments if you want to have a look at that. And as always, I will be here next week with our next little window into the world of psychodynamics that coaches can actually use in sessions. Take care, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye.